Baseball All-Star Game, a lot of new players. What do we have, 26 first-time players? Or is it more than that?
32.
32! It's got to be a record or something.
Correct.
Paul Skenes named to the All-Star team. He has pitched just over 59 innings. The last starting pitcher to be named to the All-Star team with fewer innings prior to the All-Star break, you have to go back to 1942. Carl Hubble. And he had 53 innings. So Skenes is 21. And he's the youngest player on either roster. But you're also looking at a situation where you can't create this, it just happens. Skenes, College World Series, LSU, famous girlfriend, number one pick, minors for 1 year, 1 season, and then he's up. It just doesn't happen that quickly, if at all, because normally those pitchers stay down there for a little while. And this is where you have, like Cam Newton, you know, you're a big star in the SEC, and all of a sudden you come right in and you're the rookie of the year. Like that doesn't happen in baseball. Certainly in being a pitcher. Today's game, you know, he throws 100, you're up, you're with the franchise that needs you. He's got the mustache, his girlfriend, famous gymnast, and you're with the franchise that needs you right now. And he's lived up to everything that's advertised there. And a lot of times, and I'm old enough to go back to David Clyde, if you remember him with the Texas Rangers. I think David came up when he was maybe 17, and he threw hard. Didn't last. Don Gullett with the Reds came up, might be 19, threw hard, didn't last. Wayne Simpson, Cincinnati Reds, maybe 20 years of age, threw hard, didn't last. And I talked to a physical therapist, and he deals with a lot of high-end athletes. And I spoke to him during my vacation. And we were talking about, he deals with Tommy John surgery and then therapy to follow up. And he said, teams are now drafting players, factoring in you're going to need Tommy John at some point. I mean, so once again, they're drafting and they realize you're going to need Tommy John surgery. It's like you're buying a sports car and you know that the engine has to be overhauled at some point. So to me, it's mind-boggling because, you know, I grew up where guys were pitching complete games. They were pitching a lot of innings. Guys didn't get hurt. Nowadays, they kind of expect you to throw as hard as you can, as long as you can, and then we'll fix you up, and then we'll get you back out there. But he said he had parents, I got to be careful with what the information I'm giving here, but he had parents, 2 different parents, families, who wanted their son to have Tommy John surgery, and they had just turned 13. They were going to have it before he needed, the 2 kids needed Tommy John surgery. And he said, he goes, no, we're not doing that. No, pitch as long as you can or however you're going to pitch, but you can't have preemptive Tommy John surgery to make you better. But the parents, 2 different families, wanted their sons to have Tommy John surgery. And he said, I think they were 13 or 14. That's where we are with pitching nowadays. It's hard to be famous as a pitcher because Clayton Kershaw is the most famous pitcher, or Justin Verlander. Verlander's famous because, you know, he's going to the Hall of Fame and he's got a famous wife, swimsuit model. Max Scherzer, famous. Clayton Kershaw is famous. But other than that, I don't know, Garrett Cole? Like, we've diminished. Pitching has now become a running back, where you're like, all right, it's all interchangeable. Hey, you got banged up? No worries. We'll just draft somebody in the 4th round and put him in there at running back. But where we are with pitching, and Skenes is different because he's a tune-in factor. I found myself, if he's pitching, I'm going to watch. If I'm going through the channels he's pitching, I'm staying. Ellie De La Cruz is another player that I find I'm watching him. But is it a good thing that baseball has 32 first-time starters here? Baseball's built on reputation and tradition, and that guy's back in the All-Star game. And once again, I go back to the 60s and 70s where players were an All-Star for 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years. You don't have as many repeat All-Stars. Now, it's a younger roster here, which could be good because you're trying to get a younger audience here. Part of baseball's problem is their fan base, the average fan is probably in his mid-50s. Everybody's trying to get younger. They're trying to get that younger fan base. You're trying to get females. You're trying to get minorities. Baseball with this push to now recognize the stats from the Negro Leagues. That, to me, is a long time overdue, but it's basically a reset to say to African Americans, hey, play this game. Come on. Try it again. Maybe you didn't like it before. Maybe you find it boring. But your predecessors are being recognized. Josh Gibson, that maybe you can get more conversation going. That's the feeling I got. Baseball is twofold, but they want to get younger and diversify. But watching the All-Star game, you want it to be something. When's the last time you said, got to watch the All-Star game?
1994.
Bo Jackson?
That was Tony Gwynn, Fred McGriff? Like back then.
Oh, okay, for you.
Yeah, for me. Sorry, yes, for me.
I'm thinking Bo Jackson. I remember that was a big deal. And then he homered off Rick Russell, and he led off. Vida Blue back in Detroit. Reggie Jackson hit one off the light post there. Doc Ellis was on the mound, the Pirates guy. Now, once again, when you're younger, it's more important. And I don't want to sound like, the get off my lawn guy. And I hope baseball has, like, you're going to tune in to see Shohei Ohtani. I don't tune in for the home run derby. I mean, I think it's kind of played out. It's kind of like the slam dunk contest. Like, okay, back, gone. The only thing interesting is the kids running around in the outfield trying to not, get boinked by a baseball. Yes, Eaton.
Wasn't there one in like the 2000s-ish that went like 17 innings or something? It went on forever.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
But it was it's fun though. Maybe not quite 17. I'm a little bit of an exaggerator. But it went on for a while.
Hi, Perbly. How are you? Yes, Paul.
That was the 0-2 All-Star Game, Miller Park, Milwaukee, where
we were there.
We were there. And Bud Selig was not sure what to do.
Did they run out of players or something? They just said, we're going to call this?
It ended in a 7-7 tie. People were like, it's un-American end in a tie. That's what they do in Russia.
Yeah, in Russia.
Wherever.
Yeah.
But the fallout from that was how they try to make the game more important.
Oh, well, that's where Fox goes. Nobody's watching the All-Star game.
Right.
Can we make the outcome more important that, the National League wins the All-Star game and the National League team gets to host the World Series? Stupid. Yes.
And I don't know if that's the one I was thinking about, but in 2008, it went 15 innings. Oh. And that AL won 4-3.
Okay.
Miguel Tejeda.
Did he homer or something? Yeah.
He scored, I don't know. I'm not going to recap.
When we were in Houston and all of a sudden, was that home run derby or they were just introducing the All-Stars?
Tejeda.
And you had the public address announcer. So we're in center field and, you have that great voice where, and at shortstop, Miguel Tejeda. I go, oh my God, it's Tejada. But you say it in a way that you make people think like you're the one that got it wrong. But just it also goes back to, when my friend was doing the PA announcing for the Atlanta Hawks with Carl Maline at the lone shooting 2. And we go, wait, it's Carl Malone at the line shooting 2. But he said it in a way it's like, Carl Maline at the lone shooting 2. And I go, wait, that's Carl Malone. Oops. All righty. Anywho, so Paul Skenes has been great, and you got to start him, I guess, right?
Should you start him out of?
Yes. Now, they used to, they would hold a pitcher back or, so somebody wouldn't pitch on a Friday or a Saturday or whatever, so they would have the appropriate amount of rest to be able to start. I would want Paul Skenes to start.
Pirates are only 10 games out of first. They're still in it.
Well,
Your Pirates.
Yeah. Well, he's destined for Tommy John surgery at some point. So come on in.
No.
Isn't that crazy, though, with parents? Where let's just have it now? But all you're doing is throwing as hard as you can. And the fact that these teams are drafting players because they know they're all interchangeable. Well, not all of them are. There are some that you would think are truly special, that maybe they have a 15-year career, 10-year. How many starting pitchers are going to go to the Hall of Fame? Aside from Verlander's going to the Hall of Fame, Kershaw's going to the Hall of Fame, Scherzer's going to the Hall of Fame. After that, who's going to the Hall of Fame? Is Garrett Cole going to the Hall of Fame? But it used to be that everybody talked about starting pitching. You got to have starting pitching. You know, you win with starting pitching, certainly in the playoffs. Now it's like, all right, can you give me 4, maybe 5? Then that's it. But with the advent of, middle relievers throwing 100, so now you're just kind of, everybody is going to be throwing at 100. You're not going, hey, we got this guy. And I always thought variation would be great because Greg Maddux would throw in the low 90s. But we'd probably look at Greg Maddux now and go, that guy? But he knew how to pitch. These guys throw. Now, they throw really hard, and their stuff is great, and spin rate and all that stuff. But, I'd love to get back to where you're watching great pitching.